My name is Stacy Leishman, and I was 32 years old the morning my mother finally said the quiet part out loud. It happened at 7:42 a.m. No missed calls, no argument, no build-up, just a single vibration on my nightstand. A text. "You're not part of this family anymore. Move on." Two short sentences, cold, efficient, like she was canceling a subscription she no longer needed. I stared at the screen for a long time, not crying, not angry, not anything, just quiet. A strange, eerie quiet, the kind you feel when something inside you finally stops fighting the truth. Because some part of me already knew. My parents never really saw me as a daughter. I was the helper, the fixer, the one who cleaned up whatever chaos they created. Family loyalty, as they called it, but it always meant one thing: do what they want, without question. And for years, I did. When Dad got sick, I slept on the stiff fold-out chair in the hospital for 3 weeks. When my brother Jared crashed his truck, I covered half the repairs. When Mom drained her prescription card and started charging medication onto a line of credit under my name, yes, my name, I paid it off in silence. Not because I was weak, but because I kept hoping that if I loved them hard enough, they might finally love me back. But last week, they crossed a line even I couldn't ignore. They asked me to sign over my share of Grandma's cabin. No payout, no discussion. Just sign it so Jared could use it to secure a business loan for his newest brilliant idea: luxury chicken coops. I asked one question, just one. What's the business plan? Jared shrugged. Just sign it, Stacy. When I finally said one small word, no. The fallout wasn't an argument. It was an ambush. Dad stopped speaking to me. Jared blocked my number, and Mom sent that text. Those two final severing sentences. They expected me to fold, to panic, to chase after them like I always had. But instead, I felt something else rising inside me, a calmness I didn't recognize at first. Later, I realized it was strength. So while they celebrated cutting me off, I spent that night quietly undoing every financial tether they thought they still controlled. I logged into every account, tied to my name, every loan, every shared asset they had access to. Years of mistakes and obligations stared back at me, evidence of how far I'd bent to keep this family functioning. And then I began closing doors, one by one. I removed my name from the refinancing documents for their house. I froze the shared inheritance account tied to Grandma's estate. I flagged unauthorized credit activity that had my mother written all over it. I shut down every joint asset they'd taken for granted. Not out of revenge, but because for the first time, I knew exactly who I was dealing with. By morning, the retaliation started. Jared's text came first. "Everything's locked. What did you do?" Then Dad's lawyer. "We need to fix this immediately. Call me." I didn't call. I turned off my phone. That night, I reached out to the one person who'd always treated me with decency. Greg, Grandma's old estate advisor. He was blunt, a little grumpy, but honest. And he had liked me, always said I was the only sober person at Grandma's will reading. I asked him a simple question. Did the cabin transfer ever get finalized? He actually laughed. Nope, it's still split 3 ways. Your dad, your aunt, and you. Why? Someone causing trouble? My stomach dropped, because my parents had sworn that everything had already been signed over. That the only thing missing was my signature to update the title into Jared's name. But the truth was exactly what I feared. They lied. Lied to pressure me. Lied to corner me. Lied to make me hand over something they had no legal right to take. And then Greg said something that changed everything. There's another document your mom never filed. A financial amendment to the trust. Your grandma added it last year. It gives you full control of the emergency disbursement fund. I blinked. Control? Me? You're the sole authority, he confirmed. Your parents can't touch a cent without your approval. It felt like the room tilted. All those years I thought Grandma overlooked me like the rest of them. She hadn't. She'd protected me, quietly, strategically. And my parents never even knew. When the email came through, confirming every detail, I felt a strange electric clarity. For the first time in my life, I wasn't reacting. I was planning. The next morning, when Jared sent, "Dad says you froze the account. What did you do?" I didn't respond. Because this time I wasn't the obedient daughter they expected. This time I was something else. A problem they couldn't control, a variable they couldn't predict, the person holding the one thing they were desperate to get. And they had no idea what I was about to do next. By Sunday morning, the shift had begun. The anger from Jared's earlier messages had softened into something else. Panic. And when Mom finally texted again, Her tone had transformed completely. Maybe we all said things we didn't mean. Let's talk, Stacy. You can't just lock us out like this. That money belongs to the family. This isn't fair. Fair. That word again. Fair wasn't what she said 2 years ago when Dad's back surgery spiraled into unexpected bills, and she called me sobbing, begging for help. I wired $12,000 out of my own savings the same day. Fair wasn't what anyone said when Jared needed a cosigner for his truck, then missed payments and disappeared, leaving the mess in my lap. Fair never came up the dozens of times they dipped into shared accounts, used my name, spent my money, or leaned on my loyalty like it was their birthright. But the moment I protected myself, suddenly I was unfair. When the hypocrisy finally clicked into place, something inside me hardened. And that's when I took the next step. I drafted a formal audit request to my dad's lawyer. Short, precise, surgical. As a legal beneficiary and partial title holder, I request a full audit of all estate activity from the past 12 months. There are multiple disbursements I believe were unauthorized. I knew exactly what that move would do. Not just a financial check, but a full forensic investigation. If they had rerouted funds, forged signatures, hid assets, or manipulated trust distributions, it would all be exposed. Within an hour, the lawyer emailed and left a voicemail. Stacy, this is a serious escalation. Let's resolve this privately. Please call me. I didn't. I went to the gym instead, let the treadmill drown out my spiraling thoughts, and finally felt my heartbeat steady again. When I got home that night, I stopped by a small diner for dinner. Just me, a lukewarm plate of fries, and the sudden realization that strangers had treated me with more kindness in one evening than my family had in years. When I returned to my apartment, someone was waiting. My aunt. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. She looked exhausted, not angry, just worn down. She held out her phone, a text from my mother. Stacy is trying to take the cabin. We need to act before she ruins everything. Aunt Lydia lowered the phone and asked quietly, "What's really happening, Stacy?" So I told her, everything. The cabin, the lies, the audit, the forged signatures, Grandma's amendment, the emergency fund with my name, only my name, on the authority clause. She listened without interrupting. Her expression didn't change much, but her eyes did, softening, then sharpening, then settling into something like bitter recognition. Finally, she said, "They tried pushing me out too. Jared came to me last month asking me to sign a transfer agreement. When I hesitated, your father just stopped talking to me." I felt a sting of grief, not for myself, but for how far their reach had gone. Aunt Lydia stood. "Good," she said. "Let the truth land where it needs to. Let them deal with the consequences." For the first time since the text that started all this, I didn't feel alone. But the war wasn't over. By Monday morning, silence. No texts from Jared, no guilt trips from Mom, no calls from Dad, which told me exactly what I needed to know. They were meeting, strategizing, scrambling to regain control. They moved fast when they felt powerful, but silence meant they were scared. I didn't waste the moment. First thing, I filed a title dispute on the cabin. A simple move with nuclear consequences. It locked the deed from any transfer, flagged suspicious documents, and froze the entire property from being touched until a legal review cleared it. At 2:14 p.m., my aunt forwarded me something by mistake. Jared had emailed her instead of Dad. It was a PDF, a forged contract, a fake transfer form. My name typed neatly. My signature obviously traced and mismatched. The date formatting didn't match the rest of the document. She didn't even need to ask if it was fake. I sent it to my lawyer immediately. He called within minutes. "This is fraud, Stacy. Do you want to report it now?" I stared at the screen. The rage in me wasn't fiery. It was cold, controlled, focused. "No," I said, "not yet." Not because I doubted it, because I wasn't finished. Not even close. While they were busy committing forgery, I remembered something Grandma once told me during Thanksgiving, after Jared spilled gravy on the tablecloth and blamed me for distracting him. "I keep a private emergency account. Your mother would burn through it in a week." I had brushed it off then, assuming it was just Grandma being dramatic. But now it felt like a breadcrumb. Later that night, Greg, the estate advisor, called. "I found the account," he said. $73,000, separate from the trust. And Stacy, it's solely under your name. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. She left it to me. Only me. I didn't spend $1 of it. Instead, I quietly authorized Greg to transfer it into a private locked account. Let them think I was desperate. Let them think I was vulnerable. Let them think I was cornered. They had no idea how many pieces of this puzzle Grandma had secretly placed in my hands. At 10 p.m., someone knocked on my door. Dad. I didn't open it. He slid an envelope underneath, then walked away. Inside was a handwritten note. You're trying to destroy us. You've gone too far. You're out. Stapled to it was a legal petition challenging my status as a beneficiary, accusing me of manipulation, instability, being a threat to the estate. I didn't flinch. Instead, I opened a drawer, pulled out a sealed envelope Grandma had given me 2 years ago, and scanned the notarized document inside. Her power of attorney, naming me as the sole authority in all emergency matters. Signed 6 months before she died. Subject line to my lawyer. They want to fight. Let's give them one. Tuesday morning arrived with a phone call that would become the final crack in their facade. A woman named Martha from a local title service spoke softly, almost apologetically. Hi, Miss Leishman. I was asked to fast-track a deed transfer for the cabin, but something felt off. The signature doesn't match the others on file. Did you authorize this? I closed my eyes. Another forgery, another attempt to erase me. No, I said, that signature isn't mine. Martha exhaled, relieved. I thought so. Jared pushed hard to get this filed today. I wanted to verify before I submitted anything. That was the final green light I needed. Within 10 minutes, I filed an official fraud report. Not a warning, not a dispute, a criminal filing. At 12:03 p.m., Jared finally texted, You're playing with fire. Don't do something you can't walk back from. No apology, no explanation, just a threat from someone who finally realized their leash had snapped. But this wasn't fire for me. This was clarity. This was the quiet strength of a woman who had spent her entire life being underestimated and was finally done living small. Next, I checked the last remaining account tied to my name, a family credit line I had stupidly left open years earlier. The balance shot up the moment I logged in. $20,086 in unauthorized charges. Spa packages, electronics, restaurant tabs, a weekend cabin rental, not the family cabin, but a luxury one by the lake. All under my credit, all done without hesitation. I flagged every charge and filed an identity theft claim. Then I called HR at work, just to make sure none of this could bleed into my job. My manager's voice turned tight. Stacy, someone called from your father's office last week. They accused you of misconduct. We flagged it as suspicious. I nearly laughed. Of course they tried to sabotage my job. Of course they wanted me financially desperate. I handed HR a folder. Forged documents, audit request, Grandma's notarized amendment, screenshots of the unauthorized charges. My manager read through it quietly, then said, You're protected. If they contact us again, it goes straight to legal. I thanked him, walked to my car, and listened to a new voicemail as the engine warmed. Mom's voice was shaking. Stacy, you think this is justice? You're isolating yourself. You're hurting yourself, not us. We're your family. There it was, the final pivot every manipulator reaches. From authority to guilt to victimhood. They couldn't control me anymore, so they tried the only weapon they had left, emotional collapse. I didn't respond. Instead, I typed a single group text to all three of them. Mom, Dad, Jared. Let's see what happens without me. And that was the moment everything shifted. Because they suddenly realized what I had already known for days. They needed me. I did not need them. The secret property. By Thursday, the story expanded in a direction even I didn't expect. A call came from Uncle Ray, my dad's estranged older brother, the one who had been exiled years ago for challenging Dad's shady bookkeeping. He didn't bother with greetings. Good, he said. I heard what's happening. They've had this coming. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to defend them. The rest of me was tired of playing peacekeeper. Then Ray added, Did they tell you about your grandmother's second property? My brain stilled. Second property? The lake lot, he said, a private parcel she kept separate from the family trust. She said she didn't want your mother touching it. My pulse thudded in my throat. He continued, It was held under a separate company. I checked the beneficiary list this morning. Stacy. It's you. Only you. I gripped the edge of my kitchen counter as I processed the words. While they were fighting over the cabin, lying, forging, sabotaging, Grandma had quietly left me something far more valuable, far more protected. Something they never even knew existed. A gift, a shield, a final act of love from the only person in my family who ever saw me clearly. And with that, everything became incredibly simple. The final strike. That afternoon, through my lawyer, I issued a formal notice. Due to fraud, misuse of estate assets, and multiple forged documents, litigation would now proceed. Real litigation, court filings, depositions, financial discovery. By evening, the shared phone plan I'd been paying for since my 20s was officially canceled. One call, and every line on the account went dark. At 12:11 p.m., Jared sent a frantic text. My phone isn't working. Did you cut the plan? Dad messaged half an hour later. Can we talk without lawyers? This has gone too far. Mom followed. I never wanted this. Please, we can fix everything. But none of them said the actual words. We're sorry we were wrong. We used you. The next day, their lawyer emailed. Petition withdrawn. No apology. Just retreat. I wasn't angry anymore. Just clear. I agreed to one meeting. One only. At a neutral office. With my aunt present. With every agreement in writing. When they walked in, they looked smaller, like people who finally understood consequences. Dad said softly, "We crossed a line. I want to fix it." Mom nodded, eyes wet. We were scared. You saying no changed everything. I listened, then laid out my conditions. My trust share remains untouched. The cabin stays jointly owned, but I control all financial decisions. The lake lot is mine, fully and solely. All financial ties between us are permanently severed. One violation, and I walk away forever. They agreed. We signed everything. Closure without sentiment. We are not suddenly close. No family dinners, no holidays, no illusion of healed wounds. But there is space now. Distance. Calm. Respect earned the hard way. And as I walked out of that office, the woman I used to be, the daughter who bent until she broke, the fixer, the silent giver, stayed behind. I chose dignity. I chose myself. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.